Morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well. This fine Wednesday, lovely weather again, good for walking and getting out, so we can have our exercise today. And I want to say a little bit about Friday. Friday, the 8th of May, a couple of days' time, marks the 75th anniversary of VE Day, which was marked the beginning of the end of the Second World War. And I was reading an article by Dr. Victor Pierce, where he wrote about the 7 national days of prayer that were called by King George VI and Parliament during the Second World War over that 6-year period. And the paper documents some really remarkable stories, some really remarkable things. For example, after the first National Day of Prayer, we had the miracle of Dunkirk, where they managed to rescue 338,000 of our troops off the beaches there at Dunkirk and the surrounding area, and only lost 12,000. Second National Day of Prayer was all around the Battle of Britain, and it was said that the rate of interception of the German bombers and German planes that were coming over far exceeded anything that could have been expected or explained by radar. And Chief Marshal Dowding said at that time, I would say with absolute conviction, that I can trace the intervention of God. And it reminded me of a conversation I had with my dad. My dad was a bomber pilot with 10 Squadron, flew Halifax bombers at the ripe old age of 22. If you think about that, his friend and navigator Dougie was called the Old Man. He was 25. That was the age of people who fought for our freedom back during the war. And this I've got here, I've got George VI's signature. That was when my dad got promoted to pilot officer, and I've got that up on one of the walls in the bedroom there. And the king who called for these national days of prayer. And my dad had a miracle as well on his 39th mission, which is a lot for a bomber crew. He was shot down as they went to bomb Brunswick. And he managed to get all these guys out of the Halifax, and he was walking down through the fuselage to go to the escape hatch when the plane exploded mid-air, thousands of feet up in the sky. And he managed somehow to open his parachute. He managed to escape from the exploding plane, and he landed uninjured. And when I reflected on that and I had the conversation with him all around that, I said, Dad, how on earth did that happen? If you were in the plane when it exploded, how on earth are you here? How did you open your parachute? How did you walk away from that uninjured? And he just looked at me and he just said, it had to be, Keith, divine intervention. There is no other explanation. And there is, in this article, there are answers to prayer that are very clear. There was a sea battle between the British Navy and the Italian Navy, where so many of the Italian ships were sunk. Not one British ship was sunk, not one life was lost. Now that has to be an answer to prayer. And you read it, the churches were full, the whole nation responded at that time because of the desperate nature and the desperate situation they were in. And there's a wonderful story about Tunbridge Wells where the whole town stopped for an hour of intercession. One of the greengrocers said, let's shut all the shops, let's pray and intercede for our nation for 1 hour. And the whole town stood still for an hour. Such was the response. Now, I would have liked there to have been a call to prayer, national prayer, in the same way at this time, because we are facing some of the most challenging times since the end of the Second World War. But what we're going to do and what we felt was to call a day of prayer for the church to mark the anniversary of VE Day on Friday, where during the day I just encourage you to find a bit of space to pray, maybe on your own or pray with other family members, and remember and give thanks for those who sacrifice so much that we might enjoy the freedom that we enjoy today. Also take the opportunity to pray for our nation at this time. We need prayer for our nation at this time. And also we're going to pray for the nations of the world as well. We're going to have a prayer meeting. We're going to have a prayer meeting at 11:45 to 11:45, where we're going to do those 3 things. We're going to pray in that way. We're going to pray for the nation, we're going to pray for the nations, and we're going to give thanks for those folk who sacrifice so much. And at 11 o'clock, we're going to observe the 2-minute silence that's been called, that we might remember. So if you can join us on Friday, I'd encourage you to do so, 11:15. A Zoom invitation for that will go out later today. So please respond to that if you can. And hopefully I'll see you all on Friday in that prayer meeting where we can pray together. We have the opportunity to pray together. I hope you have a great rest of the day. I hope you know the Lord's blessing and the Lord's favour and presence there with you in your circumstances today and for the rest of the week. And let's remember to keep in touch with one another. Make that phone call. It can make all the difference. Okay, God bless.